Hey there YouTube, it's Nick with Feeding Fitness. Today I'm going to do a video on a topic that I get asked a lot, especially on some of the forums, bodybuilding.com, I'm kind of active there. This is a post like every single day, probably a couple of them a day, and I figured I'd just address it with a video because a lot of you guys want to know. All the time, people are like, I want to lose body fat and put on muscle. That's my goal. How do I do both at once? Can I do both at once? Well, it's kind of a complicated answer. The short answer, is it possible to lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time? Short answer, is it possible? Yes. Now, long answer, maybe. Depends who you are, depends on your experience, and even if it is possible, is it optimal? And the answer to that is probably not, and I'm going to get into all that. So let me start. Who are the people who have the best chance at gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time? First of all, if you're a teenager, this is absolutely possible. Honestly, if you do things right, it should be what happens. If you're 15, 16 years old, and you're new to working out, and you're pretty active, there's no reason you can't put on some muscle mass and lose some body fat. Now honestly, I am not going to suggest that teenagers count calories, worry about macronutrients. You're a teenager, just save that shit for when you're older. Right now, all I would advise a teenager to do is get on a good lifting program. I will link my favorite beginners program in the description. Get on something like that, lift heavy, and eat to gain a little bit of weight. Maybe gain a couple pounds a month. Like, shoot for that. Don't be super critical on what you eat. Make sure you get in a good amount of protein. I wouldn't track it. I wouldn't be hypercritical, but I would just try and make sure I was eating a high protein diet. If you're doing that and you're lifting weights as a teenager, very good chance you're going to put some muscle mass on and lose some fat. Don't go crazy, don't go on some dreamer's bulk where you're trying to take in 6,000–7,000 calories a day to get fucking huge, because that's not going to work for you. Nice steady gains and you should be fine, teenagers. Alright, who else has a decent chance at gaining some muscle mass, losing some fat at the same time? Have you never lifted in your life? Do you even lift? I mean, if you've never touched a weight in the weight room, at least seriously, at first, there's a good chance that if you're in a reasonable deficit or you're eating around maintenance, you can lose a little bit of fat and put on a little bit of muscle. We call this the noob gain phase. And how long it's going to last depends on who you are, your body composition, what you look like to start. But basically, if you're brand new to training, and let's say you're not overweight or obese, you would just consider yourself an average size person, yes, you can burn a little fat and build a little muscle at the same time. Again, I would suggest, same as the teenagers, eat right around maintenance. If you feel like you're building muscle is more important, eat a very small surplus. If you feel losing fat is more important, eat a small deficit. And that way you're going to put on some muscle mass and lose some fat at the same time for these people that are brand new. So we've got our teenagers, we've got our newbies. Who else? Who else is going to maybe put on some muscle mass and lose some fat at the same time? Are you skinny fat? Now, I don't know if all of you guys know what skinny fat is. A skinny fat person is basically someone that if you saw them in clothes, you would say that person's skinny. If you saw them at the beach, they have skinny person arms and skinny person legs, but they have a little bit of a belly. We call that skinny fat. Skinny fat people don't necessarily lose fat and build muscle at the same time, but they are so undermassed, they're so without muscle that if they build muscle slowly to where they're not adding fat, it almost gives the appearance that they've lost fat because the rest of their body catches up with that belly. I would always suggest that someone who falls under the skinny fat category shoot to gain a little bit of weight in the form of muscle mass. This isn't just guys, there's a lot of skinny fat women out there. Probably more skinny fat women than there are skinny fat guys. You know, you have skinny arms, skinny legs, you've just got that little bit of a gut, maybe some hips. You will do more good if you start lifting weights and eating around maintenance, you're going to see changes happen in your body so much quicker than if you're busting ass doing cardio every day. Again, favorite beginners lifting program, linked in the description. Get on that shit. You're going to see tremendous changes in your body very quickly, skinny fat people. So that's really it. Those are the people that are going to have the easiest time building muscle and losing fat at the same time. You know, skinny fats are teenagers and are people brand new to training. If you're skinny fat and brand new to training, you can do some incredible things in the first 3 to 6 months that you get going. All right. Now, how about everybody else? How about me? Can I gain fat or gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? Probably not. And if I do, it's going to be very slow and suboptimal. There are 2 programs that I would consider if I was going to try and do, we call this body recomposition, to gain fat, or to lose fat and gain muscle at the same time. It's commonly referred to as body recomposition. And Lyle McDonald has a diet specifically designed to do this. It's called the Ultimate Diet 2.0. It's kind of a complicated system of carb cycling, refeed days, depletion training. If you really want to attempt this, I would suggest you buy and read Lyle's book, full of information, and I think it's going to give you the best bet at pulling this off successfully. The other person who has a recomposition diet out there is Martin Berkham of LeanGains.com. I'll put both of these in the description. Martin's program involves around eating about 20% surplus of calories over your maintenance on your workout days, and then eating a negative 20% calories on your rest days. And I've seen some guys make some decent gains on both of these programs. Now, I don't think they're optimal. I think you're better off to either pick one goal, losing fat or gaining muscle. Yes, you can pull off a successful recomposition, but it's just not as optimal. You're going to make slight muscle gains and slight fat losses. I would much rather make big muscle gains over a bulking period along with a little bit of fat gains, and then switch to a cutting period where I'm going to lose lots of fat and lose very little muscle. It's kind of, in my mind, taking 2 baby steps forward, a recomposition diet, or taking 3 big steps forward and 1 small step back, the bulk cut cycle. There's a reason the majority of bodybuilders are going to do a bulk cut cycle. It is the quickest way to reach your end result. You know, if you want to gain muscle and lose fat, like most of us do, the bulk cut cycle is the fastest way to accomplish that. Now, why might somebody like me want to do a recomp when I know for a fact it's not optimal? Well, there are some situations, and it depends what your goals are. Personally, I'm never going to be a power lifter, and I'm never going to be a professional bodybuilder. My goals are mainly to be healthy and to look good. Well, I don't like to get too high in my body fat at any given time, so I usually cut my bulks off when I get around 15% or so body fat. Also, summertime's coming up, so I'm going to transition to a cut here pretty soon. Over the next couple of months, I'm going to try and really lean out, get to around 10% body fat, and I should be able to do that by the middle of July. Well, that's just the middle of summer. I'm not going to keep cutting because it becomes increasingly difficult to maintain those low levels of body fat, and then muscle loss becomes part of a concern. I don't want to deal with any of that. And I might not necessarily want to start bulking in the middle of, bathing suit season. So that might be a time where for, maybe the rest of July and August, I decide I'll do a little bit of a recomposition diet. Yes, I know it's not optimal, but it's going to prevent me from putting on excess body fat while still making some small gains in the muscle gaining department. So that is one reason you might want to do it. Again, it would be like for a 6-week period for me. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing something like that because I know it's suboptimal. And I would really kind of suggest the same for you guys. If you don't fall into the category of teenager, newbie to training, or skinny fat, kind of throw out the idea of doing a recomposition. It's just not optimal for you. And if you are going to do it, limit it to kind of a short period of time. You can spend a lot of time trying to chase this recomposition, and I just really think it's so suboptimal that unless you have a specific scenario like I described, you know, maybe the last 6 weeks of summer or whatever, it's really not going to be your best bet. So I hope this was informative. I hope you can stop posting how do I build muscle and lose fat at the same time on the forums. If you have any questions about recomposition diets or anything like that, again, I really suggest you read Lyle's book. It's full of information, and check out Martin's website. Also, you can ask questions in the comments below over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/feedingfitness. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you enjoyed the video, click the thumbs up button, like it for me, and that's going to be it for today. I'll see you guys next time.